we have to remember that your 3 passports was
It was a selling point.
give me the green card.
I think you had this image of me as like, which is totally fair, of like this like big goofball who's like who's kind of a pluk. You would use this word a lot.
Thanksgiving.
I know you even
Ah.
when we had pitched the idea for this episode. I think one of the first things you said
That's
was
true.
Thanksgiving. Hello and welcome to our first episode of the French Kiss podcast, an episode where Zoe and I get into our cultural differences, how we manage to navigate them, how I manage to Americanize her, as she says.
Which I love.
And how sometimes that could lead to certain misunderstandings in our relationship, in our marriage. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. We had a lot of fun recording it. So without further ado, here is
French Kiss.
All right, here we go. First episode. How you feeling?
I'm stressed. I just had a good cry this morning.
Yeah, did you?
Yes.
What was it about?
Oh, I don't know. I felt overwhelmed
Okay.
and nauseous.
It's good. It's good to have a little cry.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Not to feel nauseous.
No,
It's
no,
not
no,
good
no,
to feel
no.
nauseous.
No. Good cry is always good.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'm going to sort of, because this is the first episode, I'm going to sort of break down how we see this podcast sort of function, I guess, how we see this podcast going. Essentially, the idea that we had is that we have several topics for every episode. And basically what we thought of doing was that every episode, one of us is going to be sort of the host, leading the conversation with prepared questions.
Mm-hmm.
And the other person is going to be the one answering most of the questions.
And today's host is Loïc.
Hello. Welcome to my podcast. So I'm going to be asking you questions about cultural differences. And for those of you watching the recorded version of this podcast, because it is recorded, I hope you can't read my questions, but I needed them written down because I'll forget them. But so yeah, I have a couple of questions for you. Because I know a lot about you,
Yeah.
but maybe I don't know everything about you, and this will be a good space for me to find out where your head's at about certain things. And also, the viewers probably don't know you at all, or the listeners, don't know you at all. So this will be a good moment for them to discover us.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Shall we just get right into it?
Yeah, you don't have an intro?
The intro is going to be what we record at the end. The intro
yes,
of the
right.
episode.
Okay. Yeah, got you.
Also, it's going to be a challenge for me. Here's two things. Because I'm hosting, I don't want to take up too much speaking time. Once I ask the question, I really want you to just go for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you can take as much space as you need, baby.
For sure. It's just I know I have a tendency when we speak English to speak more than you, or to try to finish your sentences for you, because I think I know where you're trying to get to, but sometimes it's hard for you to get there.
Yeah, but don't worry. If I have a hard time, I'm gonna ask you. But
Okay, yeah, or take your time, and we'll just cut through it.
Yeah.
This is not a live podcast, so that's the benefit of that. But I'm gonna really try to not interfere on your
thank you.
thought process.
I appreciate.
Even though it's in English, and I want to help you, but I'm gonna hold back.
Yeah.
So these are questions that I want us to think about without generalizing. And this goes for the whole podcast, I think, because we're going into like cultural differences. I want to avoid making broad statements about certain cultures. I've listened to several podcasts where people sort of say the French are like this, or Americans are like this, or blah blah blah, and it's like I want us to make sure, and we will say things like that for sure. And even though there are certain ways that people do certain things in certain countries, I don't want us to like make broad general statements.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So the first question, man, I'm talking a lot more than you are.
It's all right. You're the host.
I'm the host. That's why.
That's normal.
All right. So the first question ever of the French Kiss podcast Actually needs a bit of context
Okay.
because most people don't know how we met. So I'm just going to lay the ground for that a little bit. And if you want to say anything about it, please chime in.
Okay.
But essentially, I moved to Paris in 2020, late 2020, during the height of the pandemic, because there wasn't any work for actors, whether it's theater, film, and TV. I couldn't audition for anything because everything was shut down.
And you were in LA at the time.
And I was in LA at the time. But anyways, I arrived in France, and I thought the best way for me to live in another country. And the reason I made this decision was because I lived in the U.S. my whole life. My parents are French. I grew up in a French school.
You grew up at school?
I'm supposed to correct your English. I studied in a French school. And so I had this whole French identity, but I'd never actually lived in France. So I decided to make that move, and I thought that the best way to do that was by going to school in France. So I attended a theater school there called Les Cours Florent, and that's actually where we met.
Yes, exactly. I was in third year at the time.
Yeah.
And you came directly in our class, and we were together in theater class and musical theater class. So we were basically 24/7 together.
Yeah, because you had one group of people for the musical theater class, and you had another group of people for the theater class. And I think you might have been the only, or maybe there's one other or two other people that were in that class with me.
Yeah, maybe.
Were in both of those classes with me.
I don't remember.
But anyways, we spent a lot of time together. We got a little close. I knew pretty early on that I was interested. You did not.
Why were you interested?
Why was I interested?
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought you looked cool. You were beautiful. You sang really well. You were a good actor. There was just all these reasons that in theater school gives you an insight on who a person is.
Okay. Because
we would do exercises, and it's not like I don't know, I want to say like med school where, people are just kind of doing their own thing, or you could work in groups, but it's not like, okay, I'm going to stand in front of all you guys and perform my heart out. Like you discover people a lot quicker in theater school is the sensation that I have. So anyways, we got to know each other really quickly. This is a very long-winded way of preparing my question. So my question is, and I'm going to let you speak now because this has been the Loïc show. My question is, when you were in that sort of consideration phase of
towards
me, like when you started getting an idea of like, oh, I might be interested in this guy.
Yeah.
Maybe. Do you... This is going to be a weird question, actually. This made a lot of sense in my head when I wrote it alone. Do you remember taking my Americanness into consideration? Like, was the fact that I was raised in the U.S. a factor when you were deciding if giving me a chance was a good idea or not?
I don't think that it's because you're American that I was interested in you. I mean, it didn't add anything to you.
Okay.
But the fact that you speak English was a big yes. I don't know why I always had this idea that I wanted my future partner to be bilingual, because I thought that my kids would instantly be bilingual as well. And I don't know, that would be more, exotic to have this bilingual relationship and to speak both languages with him. And I don't know. It's not the fact that you were American. If anything, it was something that maybe could, comment on dit, me repulser.
Oh, it was something that could like drive you away. Well, that's
Yeah.
what I mean when I ask if is it something you took into consideration. It doesn't necessarily mean in a positive way.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like
Okay. Yeah, you were considered as the American boy.
I went into third year directly, and I think it was me and one other person, but
Marisol, big up to Marisol.
But other than us two, you guys had been together for the past 2 years, so we were like the two new
Oh
kids.
yeah, right.
And she was coming from the U.S. too at the time.
Yeah, I could feel that you both had this other approach in terms of musical theater because it's a whole different culture in America. Like it's so much more developed
Yeah.
and like ingrained in the culture. It was a whole different approach, and I was quite impressed by you.
So that kind of goes into the Americanness being
maybe.
indirectly.
Maybe, but I don't know. Like you are very sensitive, and I really liked the way you sang. Like every time you were on stage and you showed us a work, you showed us a song you've worked on. I remember I was very very moved.
Is there a song in particular you remember? I'm curious. Stroke my ego.
I think you sang a song from Les Mis.
Yeah? Oh, is it?
Seul devant cette table vide.
Right. Empty chairs.
Empty chairs and empty tables.
At empty tables, yeah. I think that's what it's called in English.
Yeah, I mean, you sang a bunch of songs, and yeah, I was always very impressed. But at the same time, you were very clumsy. Like you at the time, you didn't have a bag with you, so you put all your items in your pockets, and before going on stage, you would empty them, and everything would fall on the floor and make so much noise.
I know that's still something you have a hard time with about me. Isn't like
But this is not American. Like
no, it's not an
being
American
clumsy
thing.
is not American.
No. Being clumsy is not American.
But maybe you were I don't know. You were overcompensating.
I think
and you were always, very dynamic and intense in your movements and in your way of being and interacting with us.
You have to know that in America, like in college in the U.S., I was considered somebody who took a lot of space and it's not like it's like I came to France and I brought this American.
I know, but again, that's not an American feature.
Feature.
Feature?
No, it's not an American quality.
Yeah,
I don't know. That works. People will understand. That's the thing is that a lot of things you say, it's not necessarily the right word, but it works and people know what you're saying.
Okay. But so anyways, you were very talented, and I think you quickly managed to fit in at school, in our group. And at first I was like, I was not interested in you, maybe because you were a bit too intense, but it was funny. Like
you weren't physically interested in me because we became not close friends, but we spoke, we had some good times. I think I was one of the people that you got along with the most in musical theater group. Because I remember all your friends, because there were two groups of all the people in musical theater, they split us up into two, and all of your friends were in the second group. And I remember that was really hard for you.
And I wanted to change groups so badly. But I couldn't.
But then you warmed to this first group. It wasn't just me. It was, you kind of warmed to the whole,
I mean, yeah.
Obviously, your best friends are still in the other group.
Yes, but that's a great thing that you were with me. And also, if I had changed groups,
we probably wouldn't have ended up together.
Yeah, because I think I would have stayed in my comfort zone. I would have stayed with my friends, and I would have not try to get to know you better. I think.
Yeah, because it's easier to just stick with the people you.
Yeah.
Which is something that we as a couple are trying to work on too.
Yes.
Okay, we're diverging.
But okay, to conclude, it's not specifically the fact that you were American qui a suscité mon attention.
That got my attention.
That got my attention.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to remember that your 3 passports was
It was a selling point.
Was a big selling point.
Yeah, that's how I flirted with you.
And I was
was
like,
just I would just show you
ooh, and I was like, ooh, tell me more.
show you the goods.
Tell me more. Yeah. Give me the green card. No.
Oh
But
man, that's funny.
yeah, I always liked, like traveling, discovering new cultures, being, getting to know people from other countries and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So obviously, I was interested
Right.
in that with
Okay,
you.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So it could have had a positive impact on your decision making.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't what made you decide, but
Mm-hmm.
in the pros and cons. All right, thank you. That was a great answer. That was a great
That was
concluding.
long, super long.
No, it's good.
It was messy.
We have an hour to fill up. So, all right. Here's my next question.
Yes.
What are things that I've brought to you from the U.S.?
Mac and cheese.
Yeah, that you have enjoyed or cherished the most.
In terms, like, as in, like, things, as in, like,
It could be anything.
anything I want.
Yeah, whatever you didn't know of or didn't sort of take into consideration from the U.S.
Whoa, from the U.S.
Yeah.
Ah. Wow, it's hard.
I thought you would go to this answer directly.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I think I know what the answer is. You're just not thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because when I wrote this question, I knew specifically what I wanted you to, or what I was thinking you would say.
And what is it?
Gobble, gobble.
Couple?
Yeah, that's the sound a turkey makes.
What?
The turkey?
Oui, la dinde.
Ouais.
What?
Il fait quel son la dinde en français?
God.
Well, in English, it's gobble, gobble. I was thinking of Thanksgiving.
Ah, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Well,
Thanksgiving.
I know you even
Ah.
when we had pitched the idea for this episode. I think one of the first things you said was
true.
Thanksgiving.
That's true. Yeah, I was going elsewhere. But yeah, Thanksgiving.
And mac and cheese is a part of Thanksgiving.
Mac and cheese is part of Thanksgiving, indeed. But yeah, it's such a great holiday. I loved the fact that you were telling me about your memories about Thanksgiving. The fact that it was your favorite day of the year, and that you would wake up because in America for Thanksgiving you have like
Days off.
Yeah, days off, a full weekend, like from Thursday to Sunday, right?
And you had never celebrated Thanksgiving.
Oh, me?
Up until the point where we started dating.
Never.
Right.
Never.
Did you know about Thanksgiving? Did you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I knew about it, but it's super American. Like nobody celebrates it in France, except if you're American, or if you have American friends, or if you have this American influence in your life.
I just know that, like, for example, Halloween was super American, but it's become international, and
yeah, that's true.
There's a thing now, Friendsgiving, which is starting to sort of take more space.
Like in Europe?
Well, I know that in Canada they do it, even though Thanksgiving isn't a Canadian holiday.
Yeah.
A lot of people that I know do think Friendsgiving there. And I've heard of a lot of people, like Rose, our old roommate, she would do Friendsgiving, even though she's not American at all.
But yeah, compared to Halloween, which is very, very common to celebrate in France, even though I never celebrated it when I was a kid. I was not allowed to. My mother thought it was an American and commercial.
She's right.
She
is right. It's very commercial.
So I was not allowed to have fun, which is a bummer. I would have loved to do it, anyways. But yeah, Thanksgiving. No. Before I met you, I never even thought about it.
So tell us about.
But the first Thanksgiving we had, it's super funny because actually I'm the one who spent the whole day in the kitchen preparing the dishes that I never cooked before. Yeah. Like mac and cheese.
Why was that, by the way?
Because you were in class. You were in classe libre.
Oh, right.
And Marie-Pascale came to join me, to help me this day. And like we ordered a turkey in the
Yeah, because they don't sell turkeys like they do in the
Oh,
U.S.
no.
So
On dit boucherie.
you had to go to the butcher.
Yeah, to the butcher to
Butcher
order
shop.
it
Yeah.
like 2 days before. But on the D-Day, he wasn't ready. He couldn't have one.
I remember that. Didn't he want to give you like a full
I don't know, a full faisan.
pheasant?
A pheasant, but it was super big.
Yeah.
And
It
I
was
was like,
either
yeah,
that or
but
like
it won't fit in my oven. And so it was like, you can go to the bakery to cook it.
you're
And I was like,
discovering this
what?
is true Thanksgiving. This is the whole. It's a
And
part of it.
yes. And so we ended up going all the way through Paris to find an actual turkey, and we succeeded.
Nice. So that was when you discovered Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's so weird because I did everything on my own.
Right.
And what I really appreciate about Thanksgiving is the fact that you make food for people you love. My favorite moment of Thanksgiving is at the end of the dinner. We all stand up and
We give thanks.
we give thanks.
Which isn't, it's not the same everywhere. I know our family does that.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the U.S. will either, like give thanks to God at the beginning, grace. But yeah, what we'd like to do.
Because at first it's a religious holiday, right? No?
Not necessarily. I mean,
Okay.
they were pilgrims, so, they were religious.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to have a religious connotation. The basis of the holiday was the coming together of the Native Americans and the Pilgrims, which we now know wasn't as friendly as we'd like to think it was. But anyways, the whole, like, for example, we didn't do the whole thank you thing until recently in my family. We would have all our friends over and everybody, but we didn't have that moment that I know you love and that I love now so much, which is we go around and we either all say one thing we're grateful for or, several, or we just, name things like what's a person you're thankful for, what's a thing that happened that you're thankful for. And I love that exercise.
And it actually quite gave me a hard time at the beginning because I was always stressed when it was coming to...
Oh, when it was your turn to speak?
When it was my turn to speak, because I was like, and this is one of my big défauts.
Yeah. I can never translate
default?
words. Like when I'm speaking, no, it's not defaults. It's one of my...
the bad side.
one of the bad things about me.
Negative...
negative...
negative quality.
Yeah, it's a negative quality. I know there's a word. Moving on.
I have a tendency to see the negative and not to focus on the positive things.
Focus.
People
are going to think it's an R-rated show.
Focus.
Focus is good.
Focus?
Yeah. It just sounds like you're saying fuck us. Just
focus.
Yes.
So, yes. And so that's why it's a very good exercise because it's just a moment for you to focus on the good things that happen to you and to realize what good things you have in life. And sometimes it doesn't have to be that
big
much.
Things,
big things like you can just enjoy I don't know, a pet, friends that you met, new activities that you started or that you continue doing. I don't know, it can be anything.
Yeah.
It's very important to do that. And I think it's we could do it every day.
Yeah.
And
people do it every day.
Yeah,
we should.
Gratitude sayings. But yeah, I love it. And also like you get to know people more because sometimes you don't know what's happening in their life or what they're really passionate or grateful about. And yeah, it's just the best food ever. These are my favorite dishes from America. And it's not like Christmas. It's not about
well, I was going to say
gifting.
Yeah. For me,
So
Thanksgiving is Christmas. Everything we love about Christmas without the whole capitalist
exactly.
aspect of it that we don't like so much. You don't have to buy gifts and buy clothes and you just make food for the people you love, and that's it.
And your gift is your presence and like the quality time you spend together.
Absolutely.
And the things you share together.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's amazing. So thank you for Thanksgiving, baby.
You're welcome.
It's been my fourth,
I think.
Thanksgiving this year.
Yeah.
We went to Barcelona.
Barcelona.
So yeah, you can celebrate it anywhere.
As long as you have the people you love.
Yeah.
All right, amazing. Shall we move on to the next question?
Yes.
I'm discovering these questions because I forgot them. What would you say is the thing that sets us apart from each other the most in terms of how we were raised? And it doesn't necessarily mean by our parents, but more so in the culture that we grew up in. In other words, what is the biggest difference between growing up in California and growing up in Schiltigheim?
I didn't grow up in Schiltigheim.
Sorry, in Alsace.
In Alsace.
I just wanted to say Schiltigheim again.
Yeah, I actually grew up in a more tiny village in Scharerbergheim, even harder to spell.
Is that the town that's close to Vesleden? Or not?
It's not. No, it's
Everything's
not close.
sort of...
But yeah, it's
okay.
It's like 20 minutes by car.
Gotcha.
You know, I lived in a very restrained.
You moved a lot,
perimeter.
but like in the same
like
same area.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, it's a thinker.
But first of all, the big difference is that I grew up in the countryside, and you grew up in a city.
Yeah.
So that's...
We like to say it's the countryside because I grew up in Marin County, which is the suburbs of San Francisco, but it's not the countryside.
No.
I mean, compared to San Francisco,
you've gone to school. You've gone to school in SF from
sixth grade.
Kinder.
No, sixth grade.
Okay. Yeah, so you've been going to the city pretty early on.
But I never. Yeah, I don't know. We just crossed the bridge to get to school, and then we'd come back. I spent like all of my weekends and all the time I spent with my friends in
fair enough.
But I hear what you're saying. I think that it wasn't just the fact that I grew up in California. It's the fact that we traveled quite a bit.
Yeah. No, so the big difference in terms of education,
like or
being raised in these different parts of the world, I think to me is. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like in growing up in America instantly broadens your horizon because this country is so much more open to the rest of the world than, and I'm speaking about Alsace specifically.
That's the thing is I don't think that's true.
France, it's not true for France, but me in Alsace, I was in my village.
That's for sure. Like growing up in California, which is first of all it's coastal state. I'm close to San Francisco, which is quite
cosmopolitan.
It's quite cosmopolitan. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that it really depends on where you grew up in the U.S.
Okay.
Because New York, San Francisco, all these big cities, I could, compare them to Paris.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Whereas a lot of towns in like
Alabama, for example, we could compare it to Alsace.
Yeah. Some places in the U.S. are sort of cocooned in on themselves.
Cocooned. I love this word.
I don't know if it's the correct word I'm using, but they're sort of closed in on themselves.
Okay. Which I felt in Alsace.
Yeah. You have a lot of people from Alsace living there.
Yeah.
In San Francisco, it's not necessarily people from San Francisco living there. I think I was actually surprised when somebody said I was born in San Francisco. I was like, oh, so you've always been from here. Whereas if you go in like rural small towns, most of the time, or a lot more likely than not, you'll find people that were born and raised there and have never left.
Yeah.
And I think that does, but that's not a question of what country you were raised in. It's a question of what part of the country you're raised in.
Yes.
And I think in every country you'll have a place where like it's not as open to the rest of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's the case for that region of Alsace.
And also, speaking English makes a big difference too.
Absolutely.
Because it's the number one. No, it's the number.
I mean, it's
second
the
language spoken in the world, but it's the Yeah.
It's the international language.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's
I think it's Spanish.
the number one.
Yeah. Might be.
I should know this.
Surprisingly. Yeah, you should know this.
I should know
What
this.
the F?
Uh,
Do your market research, mate.
Yeah.
You wanna check?
Well, no. For the longest time,
We
I
can
thought
check.
it was Chinese, actually, Mandarin.
Maybe.
But let me see. It's English, and then it's Mandarin.
Okay, so I'm full of poop.
But I honestly would never have guessed English. For me, it was Mandarin first, English second, and then Spanish third. Spanish is
Spanish-
fourth.
Ah,
I didn't even
And
take
what's the-
Hindi
the-
into consideration.
okay.
But yeah, obviously. Interesting.
okay.
Now we know. The more you know.
Yeah. But I did have the chance to travel a lot when I was a kid. Like my mom would get us on a trip every year.
In France or like
No,
in Europe.
in Europe, and my grandparents used to live in Tahiti,
Oh yeah,
so I've been there 4 times,
nice.
and yeah, mostly in Europe. Yeah.
That's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, you went to Paris a few times when you were younger.
Yeah, that was a big thing. So weird.
So I think
because I live in Paris for 7 years now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I moved 7 years ago, and I hated it at first. I think I love countryside so much,
Yeah.
and I want to go back. I don't want to go back to Alsace
I know what you mean.
specifically,
Yeah,
but I want to be by the nature.
Mm.
And
I think
yeah,
more and more people want to be in nature, especially because our phones connect us to the rest of the world
yeah,
so much better.
Mhm.
I don't think you have to as much live in the hub,
yeah.
in the main city,
Yeah.
in order to work. All right. So I to sort of sum it up, I think that the big thing isn't, do you think growing up in the U.S. made that much of a difference than growing in France, especially because I grew up surrounded by French people, so it probably wouldn't be the same for somebody else.
Yeah, that would be
specific
very
to me.
different. Yeah.
But I think that living in or near around a big city like San Francisco definitely makes a huge difference
Yes.
from living in like a rural area like
Yeah. For sure.
like Alsace. Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the next question. Was that correct? The
The sum up?
resume? Yeah.
Of course.
The sum up. Yeah.
No? Sum up?
I don't know.
Summing up? No?
The summering up. The summary. The summary.
Summary?
Yeah, I think is good.
Okay.
All right. Here's a big one. Here's
big one?
Yeah. Here's a big one. Yeah. I don't know if it's that big of a one, but it's a big one. How does language play a role in our relationship?
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like this one.
And also, does it ever lead to misunderstandings? I think you know
Okay,
the
so
answer to that one.
There are 2 parts in this question. Okay, so remind me the first.
How does language play a role in our relationship?
I mean, okay, so first of all, you have to know that we speak both French and English together. But I would say mainly French.
Yeah, for sure.
And it will actually echoes with your first question.
Yeah.
But because I told you that it was not the fact that you were American that got my attention, but the fact that you spoke English. And I remember, especially the first night. So you've been hitting on me like there was no mañana, and I was like, no, not interested. But I remember the first night I opened to you, and I let you in, and I let you hit on me, and hit on you back. Is it correct?
Yeah.
We actually spent the nights speaking in English.
Yeah.
And
On a couch bed, I remember.
On a couch bed at Ivar's.
Yes. Shout out to Ivar.
Shout out to Ivar and his yucca.
And his yucca, yeah. I don't like talking about this, but I try to sort of subtle move to get closer to Zoe. And so I slid down the couch and I hit a yucca, like this enormous yucca plant, and it just like face planted. and I was never invited there again. No, I'm kidding. But
That's a great story.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was the opposite of subtle.
Yeah.
Everybody knew what I was trying to do, so that was fun.
Anyways,
But yeah, so we spent the night.
We spent the night speaking in English, and I loved it.
Mm.
I loved it so much.
Yeah?
I think I don't know. I think it played a role.
What did you love about it? Because it wasn't because you already knew I spoke English, so it wasn't like you were discovering that I was an English speaker. What did you like about that?
I don't know. Maybe I was. I think personally, I feel like I'm another person when I speak another language.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a whole other personality.
Yeah, which is true for a lot of people.
Yeah. And so I think it creates a distance from me.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah, because it's not your true self. Like your
Yeah.
true self speaks French, and so when you speak English, maybe it's like a character you're
Yes.
embodying.
So it might be a bit contradictory because I felt myself, with you, but also I could have this distance that allowed me to be less shy, maybe to be more, confident, funny, quirky.
Yeah.
I don't know, but all these little sides of me that I like were emphasized, maybe, because I was speaking in English. Maybe I was also proud, to be able to have a full conversation in English with you.
Yeah, so you felt good about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
No, but that's good. You want to be with someone who makes you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that indirectly, speaking to me in English, you were like, oh, this guy makes me feel good about myself.
And I don't know, it was different, it was not as usual. And I think it's the same reason why we continue to speak English together, and especially in particular moments. Like when we fight, we speak English.
We don't fight.
We don't fight.
What are you talking about?
We don't fight.
Us fight? No, come on.
We argue.
We argue, yeah.
I think it's very healthy to argue if you know
How to argue?
how to argue.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know how to.
Oh, reconcile?
Yeah, and how to go to the repair situation. But this is
That's another episode.
It's another episode. But yeah, I think that's why we speak English when we fight, because it allows us to take distance from ourselves and to handle the situation in a better way. And there are other moments we speak English together, but it's just like
Sometimes, when we're just like making a joke or goofing around, we'll switch to English.
Yeah.
To add on to the night we met, or the night we started flirting, the night we met our true selves. I think there was also because you were talking about your English speaking persona and how you feel better about yourself in those moments and you feel less ashamed and all these things.
Yeah.
I think you meeting my English speaking persona also made you realize or made you see this whole other side of me. Because I think you had this image of me as like, which is totally fair, of like this like big goofball who's like who's kind of a plouk. You would use this word a lot. A buff. A buff, which in English
Plouk
is
great.
What's the English word for buff?
Redneck.
Buff.
Redneck.
No, redneck's not good.
We had it.
Yeah. It's like somebody who's like, let's look it up. This is important. Okay, so I wrote buff, and it's telling me it's ox. So how do you spell buff?
B-E-A-U-F.
You see it? It says redneck.
But I think it's not 100%
It says it's
correct.
an insulting word for a poor, uneducated white person.
That's why. And that's not how I saw you.
Yeah, I know. But
That's
anyways, that's how you saw me. Let's just assume that people have sort of understood what you were going for with the bouffe.
Yes.
It means that you have poor taste.
Yeah, exactly.
You have very poor taste. But like, no, you weren't insulting me, but it was just like,
No.
it's the kind of person who like makes like a lot of like sexual jokes or innuendos that aren't that funny, but they think it's funny, stuff like that. So that was a very good first impression that you had of me, which is totally fair again.
And also, you were trying so hard to be French.
Oh, interesting.
Like even like in the way you were dressing.
Oh, I dressed like 100% a bouffe.
Yeah, but also like you brought this little beret because
I wasn't trying to be French. I'd been wearing that beret for years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
The beret I wear in the videos is like obviously.
No, it's this one.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's another beret.
So I bought that in a okay, we're going off topic, but I bought that hat. I'm justifying
Inserting
myself.
picture.
I bought that hat at a hat store in Savannah, Georgia, and I loved it. And I love that kind of hat. It's a flat cap, essentially. It's not even a beret. It's a flat cap.
Yeah.
And my sister had a really, really hard time accepting it. And I think she was right to.
I don't know.
Yeah. And she bought it. She bought one for Christmas for me. And that was a huge deal for her because she was like, I'm putting your wants over my...
That's super thoughtful.
Yeah, exactly. Because she knew I loved it, but she hated it.
Wow, way to go, Chloe.
So I still remember the moment she gave it to me. And it was from the same hat store, too, because she lived in South Carolina at the time. So anyways, that was a whole parenthesis. So I was a bouffe. And I think that my English character, persona, especially in this moment, had a little bit more swagger.
Oh, yeah.
Had a little bit more...
confidence
was a little more subtle,
smooth,
softer.
Exactly.
And I think that switching to another language as I was showing you this other side of me made you sort of believe that this side of me was a part of me, and wasn't just a character I was playing for the sake of flirting with you, because like I was speaking another language, so it was kind of like, well, this is a different person that I'm seeing.
It's crazy because I feel like thanks to other languages, it makes us see more in people. It like deblocks another realm.
Yeah, I always feel like when
them.
somebody starts speaking another
so
language,
weird.
it's like another person.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And also, I think one of the reasons that is because we associate in like unconsciously a lot of character traits to languages.
Also,
You know, like, and I think it's a very personal thing because, like, for example, me having grown up in Mexico, and a lot of my family is there. I go there for like Christmas. I go there for like special occasions. I have this very, very soft spot for Spanish speakers because I'm like, it reminds me of family and it reminds me of Christmas time and love and all these like positive things. I also think you have a immediate connection to somebody who speaks the same language you speak. Like when I'm in the U.S. and I hear a French speaker, I immediately am going to be like, oh, we understand each other. We get each other. Even though it's like they just speak the same. It's the same as if you were in France and you saw a French speaker. There's nothing. But yeah, we create this fake narrative that like there's a connection to a language and the person.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily true.
Did I answer to the second part?
You didn't answer the second part.
Which
Does it ever lead to misunderstandings, us speaking different languages?
Yes, it does. Misunderstandings between us. I think it comes from both sides. Like you would say so many weird and funny things in French.
Yeah.
Which I adore, which I cherish.
Which you have a whole notes list.
I don't have
Where's
my
your phone?
It's in my pocket there.
You want me to get it?
Yeah.
All right.
So I can share. I have.
All right. So this.
I have all these.
The people who are listening won't be able to see it, but essentially, how long is that? You can't even tell on notes. It's like, and how long has it been? 4 years?
Yeah. Yeah. 4 years.
I'd like to know how many sayings are in that thing.
I can count them.
No, don't count them.
No, not now, but
one day.
Yeah. Je me suis jamais mis une torche. As in, je me suis jamais mis une caisse,
Mais c'est quoi l'expression une torche? Je me suis torché la gueule,
oui,
torché la gueule.
oui, je me suis torché la gueule,
Okay, so
exactement. I
torcher la
got
gueule.
wasted.
Torcher la gueule means get wasted, and I said
Je me suis jamais mis une torche.
Je me suis jamais mis une torche.
I never put a torch
For
to
non-French
myself.
speakers, this doesn't really. I don't really think this speaks to them that much.
Also, Gemini, the astrological sign in French is Gémeaux. Gémeaux. And Loïc said
Jument,
son sign c'est jument.
which is
So
a baby
the-
horse.
No, it's the female of the horse.
Oh, I'm so far
The
off.
baby horse is poulain. So you see, these are the kind of things
Oh, man.
that he would tell me.
Yeah, my French isn't
and
so
that would
good.
crack me up. No, your French is amazing. You just have these little words sometimes that appear from nowhere. Yeah, I think it's so funny. But also in the same time, I would try to correct you so you have a better vocabulary.
Yeah.
Vocabulary. But now I get very sad and frustrated when you don't do these mistakes anymore.
Yeah.
And so I have to stop correcting you because this is gold. This is priceless. I love them so much. So please continue.
But so sometimes it's funny like this. But there are a few times where like I'll say something over and over and you won't understand.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And for me it'll be like, well, it was just like one syllable off or like one word off. You could have guessed what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
But
And you're just repeating the same
I just
word.
repeat it, and
I'm like, this doesn't help.
right, and I feel like you. Well, I get frustrated because I feel like you don't try to meet me halfway, but you get frustrated because it's like what you're saying doesn't mean anything,
Yes.
and I think I would understand you not hearing what in my head is so clear because I'm obviously not saying. But then you'll correct me, and you're like, oh, you said jument, you mean gément, or what is it?
Gémeaux.
There we go.
We're not there yet.
Well, I'm talking about astrological signs. I say jument. What do you think I'm saying? You know, that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of that.
I'm not
Most of
very
the times
solution oriented.
Sure.
So I'm like, no, I'm just hearing jument, and jument is the female of the horse. So what are you trying to tell me?
there's like a blockage where it's like that's not a thing. So yeah, I most of the time we laugh about it, but sometimes, rare times, where we get frustrated because we're like, "Do you not hear what I'm saying?"
Yes, but I think it comes from another place. It's not because of
Sure.
the language. It's because there is an ancient frustration.
Ancient frustration. I like that. Ancient frustration.
But yeah, like most of the time it's funny.
Mm.
Like like certain expressions, like good night, don't let the bed bugs bite.
Yeah.
We made a video about it, but it was a real.
It really happened.
It really happened.
Yeah.
Like when you first told me this, and I was so freaked out.
Yeah.
Like things like that. But it's funny.
Yeah.
It's no big deal.
Sure.
No big deal.
No big deal. On to the next question. If you compare our two cultures, is there one that you feel more connected to? And I wrote, feel more ... connected to.
Why?
Very important. Give the suspense. I don't know why I wrote it like that. Like, do you feel like I've sort of Americanized you? How do you feel about that? Do you feel American? Does that culture speak to you in ways that the French doesn't? Tell us about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird to me because I do feel more connected to the American culture.
Interesting. I didn't think it would be so...
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
feel French.
Ooh.
I don't feel French at all.
Wow.
But I've never
feel-
felt French.
You
know
feel
what I
German a
mean?
little bit?
No,
Because for those who don't know, Alsace...
it's nearby Germany.
Well, it's the region that was like German for a really long time.
For
then
several
French.
times.
Yeah, for several times.
Yeah.
It was the place they would fight over during the World Wars. So, okay.
No. I have worked in Germany. I would travel sometimes in Germany as well. I've been an au pair girl
Mhm.
there.
But so you never felt French, never felt German.
Yeah, but
What did you feel? I know for a
I don't
while you
know.
thought you were, because your parents lived in Polynesia, you thought you were Polynesian.
Yeah, but because physically, maybe not now because it's winter and I'm all transparent, but during the summer I'm very tanned.
Mm-hmm.
And people more when I was younger, but people would often ask me what my origins were.
Mm-hmm.
And because my grandparents live in Tahiti, and because I've been there um, a couple of times, and I didn't get the
The connection.
the connection and the real meaning of origin.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, I'm Tahitian,
That's
and that
fantastic.
worked. That worked.
And
People would
people
believe
believe it,
me.
of
They were
course.
like, yeah, that makes sense.
You look like you're from Tahiti.
Yeah. But
Amazing.
anyways, I don't know what I felt.
You don't
I think
feel tied to any specific country.
no, but
Yeah.
now that I know you and that we've been to America several times and that I've met all your American friends and that we've been traveling to different American cities. Yeah, I feel more connected to this country now, but this is also super contradictory because America and American culture is so much far away from my
Values
values.
like capitalism and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're more of a socialist, huh?
Oh yeah.
We're gonna lose a lot of followers because of that. No, but I hear you. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
France. I mean,
I'm big time de gauche.
here's the thing that a lot of French people actually don't understand, and this isn't generalizing. I think this is just a fact: is that people don't realize how much of a socialist country France is when you compare it to the U.S.
Yes.
Like in France, people get outraged by Macron, and I have no stance on this really, but people get outraged by Macron because he played it as being like the center, as being like a center candidate, but he turned out to be a lot more right than people thought he was.
Yes.
And like you compare his policies
Yeah.
to any American politician, and he would be considered a socialist.
Yes.
Like
Yeah, that's funny.
I think a lot of his policies match like Bernie Sanders' policies, and he's considered a socialist in the U.S. Like he's like way too extreme.
Yeah.
So I just think it's
Yeah,
interesting. I don't know why I went on this tangent.
I don't know, but yeah, this is something I learned pretty recently that the right part in France is considered at left.
It's considered it's considered more liberal,
Yeah.
democratic. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about it because we were saying that America doesn't share your values, and I think that
it's one of the most polluting country in the world.
Mhm.
Yeah, the consumerism society is I mean it comes from the U.S. and the U.S. has a big influence on the rest of the world, especially on France.
Yeah.
And there are many things that I'm like a bit outraged, when I go there. But in the same time,
You're so happy to be there.
I don't know why.
I
I'm
understand.
always so happy to go there.
Yeah.
And to go eat in a diner, and to like enjoy little things there, uh, which are part of sometimes big industries and
Part of the problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
that's
I think you're not the only person to feel that sort of contradiction within yourself, because it's like of course we enjoy these things. That's why they still exist. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it's good for the planet
Yeah.
or
and
humans as a whole.
I think that the fact that I grew up in France and I've always been used to this social aspect
Mhm.
of the politics, and like even about I mean even when it comes
Two.
to health insurance. I don't know. I think because I've always lived in this country and had this kind of helps and support,
Mhm.
um, it's not crazy to me. Whereas you coming from the US is a big difference. and makes you want to stay in France.
Yeah.
Actually, right?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, when I moved to France, my plan was 1 year and then go back to the US. I just wanted to,
Oops.
but then, yeah, mostly because I met you, but also,
But I'm super down to move to the US. But he wants to stay in France now.
yeah.
And I get it. Like it's a bit. It's
I mean, yeah, it's super expensive. And I recently got a message from a friend saying, "Hey, I know you're from San Francisco. I'm thinking about moving there." She's French. What would you recommend? And like the first thing I said was just either make sure you get a job there that
with an American salary.
with an American salary or with a Californian salary or
Yeah.
whatever wherever she chooses to live, or yeah, just make sure you have a lot of savings because I mean every time we go to San Francisco particularly, but I think most places in California, it's crazy to me how expensive everything is, especially food. We're living that right now with
Yeah.
having a baby, just comparing the medical bills to what we'd be paying in the US. It's just insane. Like every meeting that we have with the midwife is covered.
Yeah.
Every meeting that we have at the hospital is covered. Every operation, the operation that you had was covered completely. Like that's just insane.
Yeah. Your brother had a baby almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it cost them 24 cents.
No, 10 cents.
10 cents?
10 cents.
10 cents.
Yeah.
Sorry. Why do you have 24?
Because your operation cost us 24 euros, which
10 cents. 10 cents.
low numbers all around.
Yeah, we're speaking of cents.
Yeah. Either way.
Anyways, yeah, like in America, everything's is is super intense and huge and like and bigger, like in terms of impact and influence and energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm not looking for intense things anymore in my life. I just want simple things, I just want to be chilling in the nature, doing things I like with the people I like, and having a pretty low key life. You know what I mean? That's very contradictory.
Well, it was a conversation I was having with my sister where I don't feel like, because she's in between San Francisco and LA all the time. And we were talking about how we don't necessarily feel like the place you live determines your happiness in a lot of ways. In certain ways, yes. Like, if you're in a city where you don't make any friends, you don't know anybody, you're alone, sure. But I feel like as long as you have your like community, you can be okay anywhere. And I think it also depends on the people. Like I know that I'm somebody who's pretty adaptable to wherever I move. Some people it's a little rougher, it's a little harder. But yeah, I think that, whether you choose to live at the seaside in Bretagne or at the seaside,
South of France?
Yeah,
or
I mean in the US.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Seaside in LA?
Yeah,
for example.
I think you can find the same, like if that's what you're looking for, is to just be near the ocean. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know why you wouldn't opt for the option where it's like a million times cheaper to live. You know what I mean? I don't see that much more of a benefit in living in LA.
Yeah.
That's just what I've come to think.
Yeah.
All right, so
there were many parts in this question. I think I lost myself. So if you compare our two cultures, okay, so I answered to that.
I think you answered most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you definitely Americanized me. Americanized.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I've brought you to the dark side.
Yeah, I think no, maybe not, but I love America, maybe more than I don't know.
Maybe
because he's like the American dream is dead. Vive la France.
The American dream is dead. Yeah.
Let's stay in France. France is the shit now.
Yeah.
France. Yeah. So.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
funny.
know. I think after having lived there my whole life,
Yeah.
I think I'm just a little bit
Yeah.
disillusioned
Yeah.
by the whole idea of,
Yeah. Just need some time to go there,
yeah.
to get delis- delilu- disillusioned.
I think
Disillusioned.
disillusioned. I think
Disillusioned.
for entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
if that's your goal, 100%. I think the U.S. is the right move if you're trying to go big or go home.
But I'm not an entrepreneur,
Right.
so
I think that for
that's
people who are
perfect.
like trying to just live a low key life and just get by,
Yeah.
I think France, if you have a European passport, I think
Yes.
it's the move. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
I know a lot of people would love to, but just
You're
can't.
very lucky.
Yeah, I'm lucky because I could go back and forth as I please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I it's not lost on me.
Yeah.
All right. The next question was, what is something about either culture that you do not vibe with? But I think we already covered that. So I'm going to go on to the next question. Let's go into pop culture.
Pop.
Has marrying me expanded your international culture in relation to pop culture?
Yeah.
If so, pray tell and expand on that.
Um. Definitely. Yeah. And there's actually something you often say to me, or in general. You're like, the good thing about having a French wife is that she doesn't know anything.
I said that once. I said that
In
once.
terms of movies and
Right. I
stuff,
wasn't
because
saying you were stupid.
no,
I was just
no,
saying
doesn't.
I here's the thing. I love introducing people to things I love,
Yeah.
and dating you and being with someone who's literally seen maybe 10% of all the things that I love,
Yeah.
knowing that I'll be able to spend the next several years introducing you to all these things is
Yes.
just heaven.
Yeah.
So it was more
And
that.
we both love movies. We both love cinema, TV shows, theater, musical theater, and it is true that you have a better knowledge in this area than me, and I think it comes from the fact that you're American, and I because I watched a lot of movies when I was younger, even American movies, but I do have a more uh, developed knowledge of French movies.
For sure.
So that's why you would show me a lot of American movies, which I love to discover. You have a lot of things to show me, and
I love it.
and I like that.
All right.
All right.
All right. So this last question to kind of wrap it up. You ready?
Yeah.
This is it. What?
Nothing.
All right, Zoe.
Yeah.
Do you feel like cultures, with how connected the world is today, are becoming less and less distinct from one another and are sort of melding into one global culture?
Damn.
Yeah, that's a deep one, huh?
That's a deep one.
What
Whoa.
do you think? This is more of like an opinion piece.
But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think?
I do feel that cultures are blending into each other.
Yeah, and I think this kind of goes into what you were saying about music, which is like everybody in the world sort of listens to pretty much the same music, pretty much, which means that, music that might have been more regional back in the day is becoming more of like an international phenomenon, like types of music, I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that's true for a lot of things.
And I think it's quite a good thing, Also, it's so interesting to have very specific features in cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you travel somewhere, it's so nice to be to be surprised by things that don't work the same way from where you're from.
Yeah, to sort of have like a culture shock moment.
Yeah.
Like, I see what you're saying about it being a positive and negative thing, because it's positive because maybe we'll see more eye to eye and we'll be able to like discover more of the world and come to a place where we're like, well, different isn't necessarily bad.
Yeah, and like get a better sense of understanding each other.
Yeah. So I think in that sense, it's good that we're so connected. But
Yes.
I think I agree with you that losing sort of all of these different identities
Yeah.
is super sad. Like I know I recently did some research on like dying languages,
Uh-huh.
and I know there's a lot of work that goes into saving these languages because they're a part of their history,
Mm-hmm.
and we're all so connected that we might all just end up speaking the same language,
That's super sad.
which is sad. But yeah, no, I agree. It's sad.
But
Yeah,
in the
I don't
same
know.
time, the whole world could and understand and speak to each other.
Yeah, but maybe we can understand each other without
Yes.
losing what makes each of these places unique. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I think the world would be the world doesn't have to all be the same in order for us to get along.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the point is if the solution is okay, let's just all be exactly the same, speak the same language, have the same uh, culture norms, that's how we'll get along. It's like
Yeah.
no, every single place, every person is different and is an individual with different characteristics, with a different past, different history. Let's just get to a point where we just accept that we're different rather than trying to get everybody to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying, I don't think anybody's like trying to make everything the same, but I do think that because we're in a world where people are watching more and more people are watching the same movies, more and more people are listening to the same music. It's just turning into this thing where I think that people that live in, let's say, where were your parents from? Tahiti. People that are living in Tahiti,
Grandparents.
grandparents that are
I'm not
living.
from there.
I know. Your parents, your grandparents that are living in Tahiti, or people that are living in Tahiti, are probably listening and watching the same stuff as somebody living in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that necessarily is going to give them the same, is going to subconsciously embed some of the same values, I think.
Mm.
And I think that's interesting. I don't know exactly what it's going to evolve into, but
Mm.
I definitely think that's something that's happening.
Mm.
But I don't really have an opinion about it. I just think
Mm.
it's something that's happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I do think that diversity is something that we have to
Preserve.
preserve. Yeah,
Mm.
like even in France, for example, we have all these regions that have their own, identity, their own culture, and it's quite strong. It's quite surviving.
Yeah. I mean, I
To
think people are really possessive of
yeah,
their culture and
but yeah, it's crazy to think that you can be in a country and travel like from a region to another and to see the difference, the cultural differences from a place to another in a same country
Mhm.
or in different countries. And we have so much more. We have so much to learn from one another.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
because there isn't, and I think that was also for me the big benefit of being raised in like an international environment is that it makes you realize that there isn't one right way or one good way to do
Uh huh.
something because you see all these different kinds of ways of doing things and different approaches, and so you kind of form your own by by seeing all the other ways that it's viewed and done and seen, and you're like, well, I think I agree with this. Whereas if there's only ever, and I think that goes back to the first question of, or one of the first questions of like, was it different to grow up in Alsace? Is that if you grew up in Alsace, maybe it's harder to get yourself out of that mold because it's like, well, everybody I see does something this way.
Yeah.
This must be the right way.
Uh huh.
And then, you know, what's what's good is that eventually you leave the nest and you go and you meet other people and you're like, oh wait, there's
This
actually
is
not. Yeah,
different.
there's different, and it's good. It's good. But some people will stay in that bubble and will stick to that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Especially, yeah. And I mean, we're going into another topic right now, but I think that's why it's really hard for maybe certain boomers to come to terms with how the world is changing because they are seeing how the rest of the world are doing things, whereas their whole life they've ever seen it done one way.
They just don't know better.
Right.
So this is the way they have always lived and thought and acted. So
and now maybe they're going on Facebook and they're like, oh wait, they're doing it like that. What?
Yeah.
Whereas their whole life they were always in Shintikai and it was done this way and that's how it had to be done.
Yeah.
So that's that. What a great way to wrap our episode by hating on the boomers. Very, very 2025 of us.
Yes.
All right. Well,
to all our boomers out there.
To all our boomers out there, we love you. I guess, is there something you'd like to say before we wrap this one up? This first baby up?
I personally really love to be in a multicultural relationship, even though it's I would say it's not as multicultural as other couples, because you've lived in America your whole life, but you've had a pretty big French influence.
Big time.
So that makes a difference.
Yeah, I mean, we connect on a pretty obvious place of like both having our, those French roots and stuff.
I think there are relationships, not just couples, but like, in general, where the cultural clash is way more obvious.
And I think it'd be really interesting to maybe bring some on to the podcast and talk about that and see. Because, I mean, we're certainly different in a lot of ways, but we're also very similar in a lot of ways. And that's definitely where we meet in the middle. But yeah, awesome.
Thank you for these questions.
Yeah. Are you ready to host the next episode?
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, until then.
I have to work on it.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you guys enjoyed this as much as we did. Tune in for next episode. And I guess we should send them off with a little kiss.
Yeah.
So maybe
with little kisses. From French Kiss.
Maybe with a little, this was French Kiss.
Thank you for listening. Bye.